So, okay, let's go back to now the code. So here you see that I have the prefix up to country, and then I can attach the country name. And so what I do here, as you can see, we have a main loop. And so here I simply loop over the countries that I want to collect data. So for II in the range, so land nation, so just looping over indices. And the reason why I'm doing this because I want to loop over multiple lists at the same time. So I'm looping over an integer as an index, not the actual elemental list. Then I collect the name of the nation, which is not the name, but is the actual code, and that's nations for I. So it gets something out of this first array. Then I look at the population and design number I need to normalize the result based on that. And then I use this function, and for now, and a function that we create. So simply say, okay, scrape the data and collect the data and the category. Category are basically the dates in the axis for a particular nation. So I do it 3 times and then simply append. So data for all the nations. So I build another list here that has 3 elements similarly. So 1 element for Italy, and that element will be a list of numbers. And then an element for USA, another list of number, and so on. So I have those 3, and I will get this third array with the same length. And now just to show that I'm capable of getting the results, I'll just loop over and print the results. For now, I'm printing only, say, a few elements starting from element 100, just to kind of being able to see. Otherwise, it's going to be a very long list. So let me actually run this first. So we get let's assume that we know how to scrape a nation. We'll go into the code in a second, but now I go in debug, start without debugging. This runs the code. Here now we are in this loop and do print Italy, a bunch of number, USA and a bunch of number, Brazil and a bunch of numbers. So this would be those. If you want to run kind of more in debug mode, oops. I didn't set the breakpoint. Okay, so we can now run in debug mode. We reach so this point. We create the data nation list, which is initially empty. We go through the list. II is 0. So nations, again, we run. So then we get the first nation is in Italy. And then we collect the data. So you see the population, we get the information regarding the population. Now we call that function. We're not going to go in for now. But going in, so then we get in the category, get the list of dates, and in the data, we get the list of values. Notice that I'm getting list of values. This had been, there was a null in the raw data of the website at the beginning. The first element here is a null. But we build the function and we'll see such that that gets replaced. Again, it's like another half line of code. That's the beauty of using Python. And so here we do it for second time for the US, a third time for Brazil. And then we just go into the printing side of things. So let me see. So here we now printed the Italy information. So the console goes in the background. We now printed the US, and so we go to the end, and we printed all the 3 pieces of information. So the top view in the module, it's kind of fairly simple, and it simply assumes that we already wrote the code. And again, it's a nice way to separating things in module and separate the concern of writing a particular piece of code. Now let's go, so let's disable this breaking point. Now let's go into the module scrape website, which is this one. Notice that here it's already highlighted, but it's the start. So if I were to put this, set the startup file, this will highlight. This will not work because it will start in the module where we just have definition of function that we use. We don't really do anything. And so here it's important that this is the, for this demonstration is the startup file, so that this executed, import the module, and those two files at the moment will be ignored. So let's go to create a module. We just create a file with the name of the module we like. And so this module has simply 3 functions. So again, fairly simple. And so we're using this library called request. Here there is a basic description where it's a library that opens basically a website, read the the HTML file of the website and turn it back in as a sequence of lines as a text. And so this is very convenient for what we need to do. So let's focus on the main function. So this function says, okay, scrape nation. I have to give the name of the nation, the size of the population, and here the name of the website. And so when we open this particular page, we compose the name of the website, kind of the prefix, if you will, with the name of the particular nation, so that we can call it several times with the same website and just change from Italy to US and so on. So this does simply open and get the data. Very simple. Again, the power of Python that you use all this library already available. And then we turn the data set into a string, and then the string becomes a sequence of lines. So just those 3 lines did the heavy lifting. So we connect set to this particular website, clear here. We open it really as this text file, and we get this text file loaded here in this page variable, page string variable as page.content, and then simply turn that into split this line by line. So now we have a list of strings, 1 per line. So this is very convenient because now instead of parsing the whole thing together, we just have 1 line, 1 line. So now we can start thinking, okay, first thing to do is to skip all the lines that we don't care about, right? And so this is the way this works. Basically, we skip a set of lines and to get to a particular point, we skip even further just to make sure that we get to the right place. We collect some piece of information. We skip even further down. So here, so let me actually go, for example, and this is what you would do. So let's look at the string, right? So death per day. And so this is, if I put this in my search, first of all, this string exists only once, and it's right before our list of categories, right? So if I were to put only deaths occur 61 times, so it would be hard to know where we are. So here I found a string that is fairly short, but in the whole text happens to appear only in this position. And by the way, obviously you have to verify that this is a true rule for all the nations. In this case it is. So I skip all the lines up to the first one that has deaths per day. And this is accomplished with this utility function. We'll see how that works, but this is the function itself. So again, we do the abstraction. And so let's say, and this skip the lines and give me the index of the line. So once I get to that point, I skip further a little bit to get where I have the word categories. Again, if I were searching only for categories directly, that happens 12 times and maybe in different ways in different nations, so that would not be very useful. But if I do the sequence of first I look for deaths and then to the next line that has category, I position myself exactly at the line with the categories. So we would be exactly in this position, right? So deaths and then categories. Now I am exactly on this line. And now I just have to go from square parenthesis to the close square parenthesis to read the numbers, this sequence of basically dates on the x-axis. Okay, and so, and that's what this function does. So it reads, given a particular line, look for an open square bracket to the close square brackets and read everything kind of in between. So this works, and as we saw before, also we replace the null with a 0. In this case, there are no nulls. So here you get to the categories, then you skip even further down up to find the data column. So let's go back to the page source, just so we are down here. So now we do data column, and you see now I get to the data column. I am exactly at the line where I have the actual number that I need to collect. Fortunately, they're also inside the square bracket, so the function that collect the dates and the function that collect the numbers then can be the same. And so first of all, I just assume I have those functions skip, read elements, and then I just do a simple computation for the elements. So for the categories, I'm okay with the dates I read, and for the elements, I want the normalized data. So I take all the elements. Here there is kind of an implicit for loop. So I go through the row data for number in row data, and I do number divided by 100,000. You see this is 100,000, multiply by 100,000 divided by the size of the nation. And this normalized data. So this is the row numbers and these normalized numbers. And again, those are daily deaths. And here I just return the normalized data and the categories. So again, relatively simple function, assuming that you have a couple of utility functions, skip lines and read lines, not much more. So just